You know your state government has officially lost the plot when its governor, in this case Greg Abbott of Texas, broadcasting from his wheeled throne in Austin, looks down at a group of high school students walking out of class and declares, "About time students like this were arrested." Congratulations, Texans! The mighty gods of Asgard Light, that bargain brand realm of swaggering minor deities with delusions of grandeur, have finally found a foe worthy of their attention. High schoolers. According to the official saga, these students committed an act of cosmic disorder. They walked out of school to protest immigration enforcement and ICE activity. Disruptive, dangerous, chaos in Midgard. So naturally, the gods of Asgard Light sprang into action, praising arrests, threatening school funding, and implying that teachers were running some kind of adolescent rebellion crime syndicate. Because nothing screams strength like the full power of the state slamming down on kids holding poster board. But here's the part that these petty squabbling gods hope you don't notice. The students who were arrested, they weren't arrested for protesting. They weren't arrested for walking out. Police themselves said the arrests were completely unrelated. Did that stop the governor from brandishing those arrests like Thor waving a Mjolnir knockoff that he didn't earn? Of course not. When you're a minor deity, desperate for relevance, every unrelated misdemeanor becomes yet another step toward Ragnarok. This isn't leadership, it's political opportunism in a cape. Texas politicians love to proclaim, loudly, theatrically, like warriors boasting in a mead hall, that they cherish the Constitution, free speech, civic engagement, and personal responsibility. But the moment a 16-year-old actually uses any of those things, suddenly it's lock them up, cut the funding, punish the teachers, crush the example. Apparently, freedom of expression now has a minimum age requirement, needs a valid photo ID, and parental consent with a funding clause. And let's consider the message delivered from Asgard Light. If students absorb political opinions in silence, good mortals. If they ask questions, troublemakers. If they act collectively, criminal conspiracy. At this rate, Texas schools are 1 decree away from issuing Miranda warnings with report cards. Anything you say can and will be used against your district's funding. And let's be clear, you do not believe in free speech if you only support it when it's quiet, convenient, and flattering to the gods, even the minor ones. Student walkouts are one of the oldest forms of civic protest in American history. Civil rights, Vietnam, apartheid. Funny how we celebrate those movements decades later, once everyone who was involved is safely dead or no longer inconvenient to the ruling class. But in real time they summon the Einherjar, the state's armored enforcers, to teach those meddling kids a lesson. Texas loves to brag about raising strong, independent thinkers. But the moment those thinkers stand up, the divine response from Asgard Light is sit down, shut up, or else. That's not conservatism. That's not patriotism. That's fear. Fear of losing narrative control. Fear of dissent. Fear of young people who haven't yet learned to be afraid of the gods. And punishing schools for allowing walkouts? What exactly were the teachers supposed to do? Form a shield wall? Tackle students like berserkers or ICE agents? Deploy flashbangs between algebra and lunch? Public schools are not prisons, teachers are not wardens, and students are not unruly villagers in need of a righteous smiting. And yet, the gods of Asgard Light keep demanding that educators behave like a combination of berserkers and Einherjar, violence in service of obedience. Here's the real lesson Texas is teaching its kids. Speak up, get punished. Organize, get threatened. Question authority, get arrested. But don't worry, children, even the minor gods will tell you that this is still the land of the free. Texas public schools sit at the crossroads of 3 competing forces: order and safety, education and civic development, and constitutional rights. When the state responds to student protests by threatening funding and sanctions, it's not correcting misconduct. It's using financial leverage to deter expression. That's not discipline, that's coercion. That's Asgard Light, trying to remind us mere mortals who still holds the hammer. And here's the irony. Civic participation isn't something you magically learn at 18. It's learned by doing, including doing it imperfectly. Punishing that lesson actually teaches the opposite of what we as Texans claim to value. You don't have to agree with the students. You don't have to like the walkouts. You can even argue that they're disruptive. But when the state responds with threats, using funding as a weapon, and toots their Gyaller horn, the alarm of fake crisis, about arrests, that's not education policy. That's fear of dissent. And nothing exposes weak authority faster than bullying children to feel powerful. Texas wraps itself in liberty like a costume. But real liberty is messy, it's loud, and sometimes it walks out of class. If that scares the gods of Asgard Light more than actual injustice, well, that really just tells you everything you need to know. This isn't about immigration. It isn't about discipline. It isn't even about schools. It's about power. Insecure, theatrical, and allergic to dissent. Lashing out at the youngest people brave enough to use their voices before they're allowed to. And if that terrifies the governor of Texas, maybe the problem isn't the students. Maybe the problem is Austin's pantheon of petty gods who forgot what freedom actually looks like. If you care about liberty more than the party, if you think civic education should not come with handcuffs, and if you're tired of performative toughness masquerading as leadership, share this. Challenge it. Argue with it in good faith. Because the fastest way to lose a free society is to teach the next generation that speaking up for something you believe in is a crime.